Good morning. Welcome to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, broadcasting from the 13 News Now studios in Southeast Virginia, serving Hampton Roads and Northeast North Carolina. You know, here on the Weather Desk, if you're a regular viewer, we cover not only weather here in Hampton Roads, but weather across the country and around the world. Taking a look at a space-related story today as well. So here every weekday morning, starting at 9 o'clock, we give you a half an hour of today's top weather headlines. And we've got some pretty big stories to talk about. Let's take a look at some of the topics that we'll be addressing today. First of all, part of Camp Mystic is reopening in Texas. You remember just the horrific floods that occurred on July 4th of last year. Well, we're going to have an update on part of Camp Mystic reopening down there. Then there was a 17-car pileup that was weather-related. We'll talk about what weather phenomena caused that pileup and where it occurred and kind of what the situation is there now. So we'll check in on that. In addition to that, we're going to talk about Mount Kilauea. It is erupting again, and it's been a very active cycle. You know, we've talked about Mount Kilauea a lot over the last several months, and it is erupting again. What's really wild about this one? Geologists studying the volcano, they were saying, hey, this thing is going to go, and they gave a pretty small window that they thought it was going to erupt again. And it is hit in that window. So kind of cool that some of these folks that forecast the volcanic activity are getting more and more accurate with their predictions. It's not like, well, it might. They're saying, hey, this thing's going to go, and it's going to be between this time and that time, and we're in that window. So we'll show you that. Firefighters battling in Patagonia, some pretty massive wildfires. We'll talk about that and the suspected cause of that as well. There's some question as to how things are going. Also, a little bit of good news for firefighters there down in the Patagonia region of Argentina. We'll explain what they've been getting in terms of a little added help. Then we have the schedule for Crew 11's return from the International Space Station. We've talked about that as well over the past week or so, that planned spacewalk delayed, and then they decided to medevac the International Space Station, bring the crew home early. Well, now we know when they're going to depart the ISS and when they're expected to splash down here on Earth. We also have a look at the typically coldest stretch of weather for Hampton Roads. We're going to take a look at the next storm system, which could bring us a little wintry mix right here in Southeast Virginia. We'll talk about that, and we'll get into the full extended forecast as well. So plenty to cover from the Weather Desk today. Let's start off, though, with a look at the big picture here. You can see some unsettled weather down across Texas, and that's where we're going to go first of all, down across south central Texas to the Hill Country, and it was Kerrville specifically. You know, it's been 6 months since flooding in Texas Hill Country claimed dozens of lives. On the morning of July 4th, torrential rain caused the Guadalupe River to rise several feet in a matter of hours. More than 130 people died in the floodwaters, including 25 girls staying at Camp Mystic, 2 camp counselors, and the camp director. Megan Reyna spoke with the new camp director about plans to reopen a sister campus this summer, less than a year after the tragedy.
So it has been 6 months since the tragedy on July 4th. First off, how are you doing?
God is good. It's been really, really hard with everything that's happened, but we're appreciative of all the prayers and support, and we're hanging in there.
Britt Eastland may have been born into the camping community, but being here is his choice. He and his wife are the camp directors at Camp Mystic Cypress Lake, the sister campus that opened in 2020, not far from the original campsite off the Guadalupe River.
During the storm, we were here watching over our girls at this campus.
On July 4th, everyone here was okay. But less than a mile away, 25 campers, 2 counselors, and Eastland's father, Dick Eastland, would lose their lives.
The future of this main campus is unclear. The community is still healing, but Eastland told me the decision to reopen the other campus came after a lot of prayer.
If we do it right, that girls will have an amazing experience, and they will gain so much for being together, and it'll be very healing for a lot of them. So we're working really hard at that right now.
Part of that work included making a phone call to a company that didn't even exist 6 months ago. Owen Gari co-founded River Century following the devastating floods. They quickly engineered this flood warning sensor.
We're going to come up with a system that works the same way as a fire alarm in a hotel works, as simple as that.
Gari says once water reaches a certain level and is detected, an alarm similar to 2 ambulances goes off. 4 of these are now installed at Camp Mystic Cypress Lake, and by the end of April, there will be 100 across the Guadalupe River at different campsites and private properties, paid for by local foundations in Camp Mystic.
Our prayers is that never has to go off, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's the idea. But if it does, then at least we'll know that we gave everybody enough time to get out of here.
Eastland says he understands why some parents may not be ready to send their girls back to camp, but he believes this campus was unscathed by the raging floodwaters for a reason.
It is pretty special that this is here.
Reporting in Hunt, Megan Brana, KENS 5.
We will be watching again as that area continues to pick up the pieces from that just tragic flooding. Let's turn our attention now to California, and we're going to go to the central part of the state, specifically around Fresno. It was in this location that dense fog is partly to blame for a deadly 17-car pileup. This happened on Highway 99 in Fresno Sunday morning. A 61-year-old man died and several others were hurt, including children. California Highway Patrol says there was only 10 to 15 feet of visibility when the crash happened. It was triggered when 2 vehicles slowed down while several other drivers behind them were still going at a high rate of speed. This serves as an important reminder to slow down whether you're dealing with fog, rain, or, of course, snow. All right, let's jump out and talk a little bit about the winds while we're out in California. We're back just north of L.A. We have an advisory. We were talking Santa Ana winds yesterday, and now today we still have some breezy conditions there. It's not as bad as what they were seeing widespread yesterday. Now, we still have some high wind warnings over portions of Montana and even Wyoming, a couple areas with some high wind warnings. North of Hot Springs, there is a wind advisory in South Dakota. So I just thought I would share that quick wind update for you while we're out west. I want to take you now back over across the ocean to Hawaii, and we're going to talk about Mount Kilauea and the eruption that's occurring once again. Here's a look at some of the lava coming from the north vent yesterday. Look at that. Just magnificent to see. Love to see just nature in its full just glory there, spewing that lava. It's amazing. And of course, they keep folks back at a very safe distance. This volcano is just amazing. It marks now, this eruption, the 40th time the volcano has erupted since December of 2024. The eruptive episodes usually last less than 12 hours and are separated by pauses that can be as long as 2 weeks. The last time Kilauea erupted was on New Year's Day, and scientists predicted the next episode would happen between January 8th and 13th. And as you can see, they were right. Isn't that amazing to see that Kilauea erupting there in Hawaii? Now, something that is really a problem, this is not something that is beautiful to see, but more wildfires, and we're going to the Patagonia region of Argentina. Right now, hundreds of firefighters are working to contain several wildfires in this Patagonia region. And as you can see, these fires started last week, but they've scorched at least 30,000 acres so far, and they are burning in the heart of the Andes Mountains, which is one of the top tourist destinations in the country. Wildfires are common in that region between December and March due to high temperatures, strong winds, and drought conditions. The causes, though, of these fires are still under investigation, but authorities say the largest active fire appears to have been deliberately set. So that's going to be interesting to find out more about that. Yesterday, it was the southeastern part of Australia we were talking about in Victoria where they had wildfires. Now, again, in the southern hemisphere, it's Argentina that's dealing with it. Well, tomorrow night Astronauts on board the International Space Station will begin their journey back to Earth. NASA's Crew 11 launched on the SpaceX Dragon in August. They were set to return next month, but are now heading home early due to a medical concern with one of the crew members. This will mark the first medical evacuation from the International Space Station in its 25-year history. The astronauts are expected to leave the space station around 5 o'clock Wednesday afternoon and will splash down off the coast of California Thursday morning just before 4 a.m. We'll continue to watch that story. It's been something because we were all geared up to cover that spacewalk, and just like that, NASA said out of abundance of caution, they need to bring that crew back, and we'll let you know how they do tomorrow with that splashdown. All right, you see these icicles. We're going to talk cold temperatures here. Norfolk's typically coldest stretch of the year. We're getting into it. We'll hear more on that, and a wintry mix for parts of the country, some snow, but a wintry mix here in Hampton Roads. It's possible Thursday morning. I'll show you how the models are handling it, what we expect, and what you can expect as we look ahead into next week. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. We're so glad you're with us. You know, January 2026, we started off chilly here in Hampton Roads with temperatures a little bit below average for the first 4 days. Then we went through a warm week. And look at this, last Friday and Saturday, mid-70s. Everybody was out in shorts. A lot of folks maybe even spent a little time on the beaches. I know I took a walk along the beach. It was great, an early test of spring. It went cold yesterday and really, really cold with highs only in the 40s across the region. Now, temperatures are warming up a little bit, but this weekend, it's kind of interesting. We had that little taste of spring, but we are now coming in to the time where we typically find the coldest stretch of the year for our region. Meteorologist Hunter Forrest walks us through what to expect in the coming weeks.
The coldest stretch of the year is just around the corner, January 13th through the 24th. And history tells us just how impactful this period can be. Looking back at past years, this time of year can deliver some dramatic winter weather. But on average, daytime highs during this window hover right around 50 degrees, making it the chilliest stretch of the entire calendar. But that number only tells part of the story. In reality, this time of year has produced some incredible extremes. We've seen temperatures plunge all the way down to -3 degrees in 1985, the coldest temperature ever recorded in Norfolk. Yet, remarkably, during this very same stretch, we've also seen unusually warm air surge in, pushing highs into the upper 70s. In fact, we've reached about 77 degrees 5 different times between the 13th and the 24th, showing just how volatile midwinter weather can be. And it's not just about temperature swings. The biggest January snowfall on record occurred during this window, with nearly 10 inches piling up back in 1893. So, as we move into this historically cold stretch, it's a good reminder to stay weather aware. This is when winter tends to show its full range, from Arctic blasts to surprise warm-ups and everything in between. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
All right, Hunter, doesn't look like we're going to see anywhere near the warmest we've seen as we look forward out over that range of days that Hunter just highlighted. We've got below average temperatures generally setting up. I'll show you how things look here. The 5-day outlook today and tomorrow actually a little bit above average. But as we go out, you'll notice much colder air comes in Thursday and Friday. We get a little bump on Saturday, right around that average high of 50 degrees for Norfolk. And then after that, some more cold air plunges into the region. Take a look at the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. It's going to be drier than normal, most likely for the southeast U.S. up through the mid-Atlantic. You can see here back across portions of the Great Plains, we've got drier conditions as well. And it looks like the Northwest is finally going to be getting maybe a little more prolonged dry weather. They certainly could use it after all of that moisture that's streamed in to this part of the country over the past couple of months. So this isn't bad. A little more maybe excessive moisture up along the Montana, North Dakota kind of border with Canada there, and a little bit along the northern Great Lakes. But again, a good chunk of the country should be drier. Now, this is what I really wanted you to see, the temperature outlook 6 to 10 days out. This is the 19th through the 23rd. It is likely that here in the eastern third of the country, we are going to be below normal. A lot of times we talk about a big kind of almost like a teeter-totter when one side is cold, the other side is warm, and that can kind of go back the other way as well. You remember when we had the warmer weather, they were cooler and wet out across the West Coast. Well, when we look out 6 to 10 days, you can see this part of the country, the Four Corners region through Southern California, and really all the way up into Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, they're expected to be above average when you take a look at all of those temperatures. So that's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. All right, we're going to take a look at some temperatures right now across the region. We have temperatures in the mid-30s, upper 30s near the coast, near 40 around Hampton. As we take a look at the big picture, let's take it full. I want to walk over to the big board so we can get into what's going on here with the weather and the outlook. Showers down across Texas. You see that here, nothing severe. And up around the Great Lakes region, some unsettled weather. We've got rain. We've got some mixed precipitation around the mitt here with Michigan, lower peninsula Michigan. I lived up in Detroit. So where are you from in Michigan? I live right here is how we kind of did it back then. But anyway, you can see up into Lake Huron some mix with some snow. You head to the Dakotas, they've got some rain, a little bit of snow flying. Again, windy up in this part of the country here. But aside from that, there's really no severe weather threat for today. And even the flood outlook, I was looking at that. There's no area that is pegged for excessive rainfall. So some good news there as we take a look. Now, I do want to talk to you about changes coming, and I'm going to start off by showing a couple of the models and the bigger picture, the whole country with the Euro and the GFS model. Then we're going to focus on Hampton Roads because it's possible we could see a light mix here in Hampton Roads. Now, we have not yet declared a weather impact alert because, quite frankly, this is not a guarantee. But as you'll see, some of the models do hint that there might be a little bit of mix. And it doesn't look like it's going to be major impact. It should be light rain or light mix and snow possible. In fact, I think a lot of it's going to come with the temperatures a little bit above freezing, so it doesn't look like it's going to be piling up quick or anything like that. But we'll get into the amounts that are possible, and you do need to know colder air is going to sweep in behind the system, so we're going to be monitoring that for late morning on Thursday. And then you'll definitely want to stay tuned for updates from our team here at 13 News Now, as things may change a little bit for the better or worse, and we'll certainly keep you updated online, on air, and on the go with your mobile apps as well. So let's talk about the big picture. We'll start off with the European model. And as you can see, that moisture going on down across Texas and that mixed precipitation up in the north. So it's doing a pretty good job of what we call at initialization, or at the beginning of this model here. It's got a pretty good handle on it. This moisture was actually positioned over just a little farther to the east of where the Euro has it right here at 8 o'clock this morning. But you'll notice as we head towards noon, again, it continues to move along that area of low pressure, stays up into Canada, but it swings a couple of fronts through the area. So the Euro says, okay, this is going to turn the corner quick. It's got a cold front here, kind of a second shot of reinforcing cold air. So a couple of fronts swinging towards the coast. Chances for a few showers maybe late tomorrow in the afternoon down across North Carolina. But you can see it really doesn't bring any snow into the region for Hampton Roads. Looks like it will produce snow back up across parts of New York State, Vermont, even up into Maine, parts of Pennsylvania as well, western PA. They may see a little bit of snow, and potentially with this cold air coming off the Great Lakes, there could be some lake effect snow as well. Another system on its heels there back across the south central part of Canada, diving down into the Great Lakes region. There's that next area of low pressure here. Some more snow for this part of the country from Pennsylvania and western New York back across the Great Lakes and back into Minnesota, parts of the Dakotas there. Still dry down across the southern tier. Again, this is the Euro. Looking ahead to Friday and Saturday, we look pretty good. A few showers possible here with the Euro, but the snow staying out to the west. As we go into Sunday, it's interesting, maybe a couple flurries off to the north, but generally fair conditions here. And I'll note, just to give you a feel for how fickle these models can be from run to run, previously, as I was looking at the Euro, I think it was earlier today or late last night, at one point it had snow for our area on Sunday. I guess that was yesterday because I held off. I didn't want to pull the trigger on that. The other models were outlying. This morning, the Euro does not produce any snow for our area on Sunday, so it's kind of back in line with the other models. That's the Euro's outlook. Let's take a look at the GFS. And this is the American model. So again, this show, the Weather Desk, is really for people that are passionate about the weather. That's why we're wading a little bit deeper into the taller weeds a little bit with some of these models. We'll take a quick look at this. And again, you can see the GFS bringing some of that snow around the Great Lakes region. Again, that low turning off to the north. We've got a couple of frontal boundaries pushing into the area. Chance for a few flurry or a few rain showers late tomorrow. But this did bring a few snow showers into the region early Thursday. By noon, it's clear. And again, we're looking better later Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Really not much going on. Maybe a couple sprinkles up towards Maryland. And again, that next system, snow back out to the west. But this, like the Euro, keeps that second batch of snow away. And again, Sunday should be a pretty fair day. Look at how much of the country remains dry. So basically two systems bringing chances for snow to the northeast U.S. as we had one Wednesday into Thursday, and the next one a little bit later in the weekend, Saturday into Sunday for that part of the country. Now let's take a closer look at what the Futurecast holds for Hampton Roads. And we'll start off here with the look. This is now the graph model. So as we take a look here, plenty of sunshine today. Beautiful southwest winds push our temperatures up in the mid-50s. We are back up above average. Our normal high is 50. Yesterday, 48. We were below average today, mid-50s as we head through the afternoon, upper 50s maybe for a few inland spots. Heading into the overnight, mainly clear, maybe partly cloudy at times, but generally mainly clear. Tomorrow, this is when we are going to see the clouds on the increase and maybe a couple of passing showers over eastern North Carolina. Now, this is the graph model. This is a higher resolution model, and you can see it does bring initially some rain showers in around 1:30. A little bit of snow or mix here. And as you look at the temperatures that correspond with what the model's projecting in terms of precipitation, you might be scratching your head a little bit. You're looking at this going, okay, low to mid 40s for temperatures, but we're getting a little bit of mixing here. Now, aloft, obviously, it's much colder. So you've got your surface temperatures, which are shown on the map here. But once you go up in the atmosphere a little bit, there's colder air up in the clouds, obviously, where that snow is forming. As the snow falls, it may pull some of that colder air down for some snow showers to mix in off to the north. You'll see apparently there's that chance with the graph model all the way down into Hampton Roads and up on the eastern shore, the northern neck, middle peninsula, and the peninsula. Again, temperatures here low to mid 40s. So even if that snow is falling, if the ground is warmer, we've got a couple days where temperatures are going to be in the mid, if not mid to upper 50s, thanks to the southwest winds. With that colder air coming in as the snow falls, what's it going to do? It's going to melt, obviously, on that warmer ground. Now, sometimes if the snow's really intense, you can get the snow kind of overtaking that warm air layer at the surface, and you can get a little bit of snow accumulating, especially on some of the elevated surfaces. And these temperatures may cool down a bit more than what you're seeing depicted by the graph model. But I do want to mention, again, this is kind of the thinking right now as I'm looking at this. Okay, so that starts to pull away, and the graph also moves the moisture out by like 5, 6 o'clock. We're pretty much done with it. The other models hold it a little bit later. You see the temperatures tumble. Now we are cold enough to support snow, but the moisture is out. So those temperatures really falling as the precip exits. That's important. Now, if there's a lot of moisture on the ground and you get temperatures down to the upper 20s, we got to watch those bridges and elevated surfaces. There could be a little bit of freezing off to the north. But I think for the most part, what falls is going to fall as rain or mix, and then we may get some bursts of snow in there, but it should be very light and then move out. We're going to see more sunshine. Temperatures really cold Friday, and then into the weekend, some other adjustments coming up. This is a GFS zoomed in on Hampton Roads. You could see rain early Thursday, and then you could see that chance for a little bit of snow in the morning, and then it moves out as some mix, and by 9 o'clock, it's done. That's a closer look at that GFS model, the one that I showed you earlier nationally, but I just wanted to zoom into Hampton Roads to give you just a little more detailed look at how that plays out for our area. So the models are not in really close agreement. There's some different subtle changes. You take a look at the snowfall potential, and the NAM, which is another high-res model, maybe showing just a little bit of snow in the mix. Anything that does accumulate would kind of be slushy and minor. Same thing with the GFS. This is the one that's been most bullish. It's actually producing 1 inch for Newport News. But I just showed you those temperatures, probably too warm for most of that to stick. So we might see a little bit of slushy stuff, and you can bet our weather team and our news team will be here to cover it for you. If we do get something, our Weather Impact Interceptor will be out in that. But remember, the Euro not producing much at all. Tappahannock with just 1/10 of an inch. That's it. So which model's right? We're going to see how things play out. And, of course, keep a close eye and keep everybody updated. Here's a look at the graph, that high-res snow potential, that the model that I had just showed you with the temperatures on it. You can see just a little tiny amount off to the north. Most areas not seeing more than a few wet flakes. So let me bottom line it for you. Here's what I expect. Rain or mixed with snow possible early on Thursday morning. Little to no accumulation expected. And again, that colder air really arrives as the precipitation moves out. Right now, it was a chilly start to the day, but the skies are clear. Absolutely beautiful. Checking in with the Thompson Creek Window Company. 38 at the airport. Southwest winds at 9 miles per hour. We're going to see the winds maybe a little gusty later today, but the bay and the ocean looking pretty good. You can see some of those peak wind gusts around Norfolk up to 19, maybe 20 miles per hour later and into the evening. Small craft advisories may go up tonight. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s across the region. South side today, a lot of sunshine. Temperatures cooler on the eastern shore, low 50s there. Low to mid 50s middle peninsula, and the peninsula from Hampton, Newport News, and Williamsburg right around 56, maybe 57 degrees. For northeast North Carolina, upper 50s inland, mid 50s at the Outer Banks. Lots of sunshine down to the south. Lows tonight near 39, mainly clear. And tomorrow, 57, increasing clouds. That's the warmest day of the week. It turns colder after that. And you see the temperatures falling after that morning potential mix. Friday is going to be cool. 40 degrees for a high, back to 50 on Saturday, and another shot of cold air into early next week. That's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.